Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me, because this moment right here could shift your life. Too many people are walking through life paralyzed by a future that hasn't even happened yet. They are carrying stress, anxiety, and fear about a story they've created in their head, a story that doesn't even exist. And I want to shake you awake today and tell you stop worrying about the future. The future is not something to be feared. It is something to be created. Every time you sit and worry, you are rehearsing failure in advance. You're living a nightmare that hasn't even shown up. And the crazy thing, most of those fears never even come true. But here's what does happen. While you're worrying about tomorrow, you're stealing the joy, the energy, and the opportunities of today. Think about it. How many breakthroughs have you missed because you were too busy imagining the worst case scenario? How many times did you stop yourself from taking action because your mind whispered, what if it doesn't work out? Let me ask you, what if it does? What if the future is not against you but waiting for you? What if the future is begging you to step up, to play full out, to give everything you've got today so you can shape it the way you want? See, the future is not a prison, it's a canvas, and you are the painter. But if you don't pick up the brush, if you don't create, then yes, fear will fill in the blank spaces for you. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time does not exist. The only time you have is right now. The people who change their lives don't do it because the future was guaranteed. They do it because they were willing to move even when they didn't know what would happen next. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in the face of fear. It's deciding that even though you don't know every step, you're going to start climbing anyway. So here's my challenge to you. Take your eyes off the horizon of what might go wrong and put them on the ground right in front of you. What can you do today? What call can you make? What step can you take? What decision can you commit to? Because it's those small actions compounded that build a future worth living. Worrying will never build it. Action will. And when your mind starts to drift back into that old pattern of worry, remind yourself, the future doesn't need your fear. It needs your faith. It needs your energy. It needs your courage. You don't have to predict tomorrow. You have to produce today. That's how you shape destiny. That's how you build a life that excites you instead of one that terrifies you. So don't worry about the future. Create it, command it, own it, because the power has never been out there. It has always been in you. Worry is rehearsing failure in advance. Think about that for a moment. Every time you let your mind spiral into the endless loop of what ifs and worst case scenarios, you are playing out a movie of defeat in your head before the real story even unfolds. It's like sitting in a theater, popcorn in your hand, watching a film where you are the star, but instead of being the hero, you're casting yourself as the victim, the one who loses, the one who never makes it. That is what worry does. It convinces you to live in a version of reality that doesn't even exist yet, and most of the time, that version never will. Yet your nervous system reacts as if it's happening right now. Your body goes into stress mode, your energy drains, and your focus is shattered, all because your mind is rehearsing a failure that hasn't even occurred. The truth is, worry is nothing but a misuse of imagination. The same creative power you use to picture doom, disaster, and disappointment can be directed toward visualizing growth, opportunity, and success. But most people don't realize they have that choice. They let their brain run on autopilot, and by default, fear wins. Worry sneaks in because the brain is hardwired to protect, to scan for danger, to keep you alive. But here's the catch. In today's world, most of the dangers you worry about aren't lions chasing you in the wild. They're conversations you haven't had yet, bills you're not sure how to pay, opportunities you're afraid to chase, relationships you're scared to lose. None of it is happening in this moment, yet you live it as if it's real. That's why worry is rehearsing failure. It's training your body, your mind, and your emotions to expect defeat before you've even taken a swing. And the problem with rehearsing failure is that the body starts to believe the rehearsal. You begin to embody the stress, your decisions shrink, your courage shrinks, and your willingness to act diminishes. If you constantly rehearse loss, eventually you'll talk yourself out of taking risks. You'll shrink your dreams so you won't feel the pain of disappointment. You'll stop reaching for more because you've convinced yourself you'll fail anyway. Worry doesn't just waste your time, it robs you of your future. It conditions you to play small, to avoid action, to step back instead of forward. And the tragedy is you'll never know what victories you could have had because you were too busy imagining the losses that never even came true. What if instead of rehearsing failure, you rehearse success? Imagine how different your energy would be if instead of playing out the disaster reel in your mind, you ran the highlight reel of what could go right. Imagine stepping into a meeting not already defeated by the fear of rejection, but empowered by the expectation of connection. Imagine approaching your goals not with dread, but with excitement, not drained, but fueled. The brain doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something real. So why keep feeding it nightmares when you can feed it dreams? Worry has no creative power to build. It only destroys. It only limits. It only cages you inside stories that never serve you. But when you catch yourself worrying, you have a chance to flip the script to say, if I'm going to rehearse something, I might as well rehearse winning. People often think worry is being responsible, that by preparing for the worst, they're protecting themselves. But let's be real. When has worrying ever solved a problem? When has worrying ever cut a bill in half, fixed a relationship, landed you the job, or healed your body? It doesn't. Preparation solves problems. Action solves problems. Clarity solves problems. Worry only creates more problems by stealing the mental and emotional energy you could have used to actually take those steps. It's like sitting in your car with the engine running, the tank draining, but the vehicle never moving forward. All motion, no progress. All stress, no result. That's the insanity of worry. And here's the other danger: when you rehearse failure long enough, you'll unconsciously attract it. Not because of some mystical force, but because you prime your mind to see the obstacles more than the opportunities. If you expect things to go wrong, you'll filter your reality to notice every little thing that proves your worry was right. You'll ignore the signs that something is working, and your focus will lock on what isn't. That's how worry becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You've programmed your mind to confirm failure. But if you shift that rehearsal, if you imagine success, your brain starts scanning for possibilities, solutions, and strategies. You become resourceful, you feel empowered, and you notice opportunities you never saw before. Your focus is your filter, and worry is just focus on the wrong future. Every successful person you've ever admired has felt fear, has had moments where worry could have consumed them. But the difference is they didn't let worry run their life. They didn't keep rehearsing failure. They rehearsed possibilities. They rehearsed action. They rehearsed courage. And that's why they built something extraordinary. They understood that worry is nothing but wasted life force, and the sooner you cut it out, the sooner you reclaim your energy to actually create the future you want. So the next time you catch yourself worrying, stop and ask, what am I rehearsing right now? Am I practicing defeat, or am I practicing victory? Because whenever you rehearse long enough becomes your reality. If you keep rehearsing failure, don't be surprised when life feels like one. But if you rehearse success, if you rehearse resilience, if you rehearse courage, then even when life throws challenges at you, you'll face them differently. You'll face them as someone who has already conditioned themselves for strength, not someone who's already lost before the battle even began. The future is a canvas, not a prison. Too many people treat tomorrow like it's a sentence handed down by life, as if they have no say, no control, no brush in their hand. They wake up every day believing the story that their destiny has already been written in stone, that their circumstances have already defined the picture of their life, that they are trapped in a reality they cannot escape. But that's not true. The future is not a prison with bars and walls. It is a wide open space waiting for you to decide what goes on it. Every single day you are holding the brush, you are mixing the colors, and you are choosing whether to paint something powerful and vibrant or something dull and lifeless. When you see the future as a prison, you stop trying. You accept limitations as if they are permanent. You convince yourself that what you've been given is all there is, so you adapt to smallness. You settle for less. You tell yourself lies like, this is just the way things are, or I can't change what's coming. That mindset locks you into a box that doesn't even exist. The walls are illusions built out of fear, doubt, and other people's opinions. But when you realize the future is a canvas, everything changes. You see blank space, not confinement. You see opportunity, not inevitability. You see the chance to create, to experiment, to play with possibilities instead of simply enduring a fate you never chose. The beauty of a canvas is that it doesn't judge you. It doesn't care what you painted yesterday. It only waits for what you will paint today. Some people are so chained to their past failures that they drag them into tomorrow and call it reality. They let the shadows of yesterday's mistakes darken every brushstroke of today. But the canvas of the future doesn't come pre-stained with your past. It's clean, it's open, it's ready. You may have messed up, you may have failed, you may have been hurt, but that doesn't mean your canvas is ruined. You always have the power to choose a new color, to start fresh, to create again. That's the gift life gives us every single day. The prison mindset says, I can't change it. I'm stuck. I'm powerless. The canvas mindset says, I can create it, I can shape it, I can design it. And that shift in perspective is everything. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One sees the future as a prison. This is it. It's over. I can't do anything about it. They shrink, they give up, they stop trying. The other sees the future as a canvas. This is raw material. This is paint I can still use. This is space I can fill. They take action, they experiment, they create something new. Same situation, different outcome, all because of how they see the future. When you live as if the future is a prison, you're always waiting for something outside of you to change. You wait for luck, for timing, for someone else to open the door. You hand over the brush, you hand over the paint, and you sit in the corner hoping someone else will come paint your life for you. That's why so many people feel stuck. They've given away their power to create. But when you live as if the future is a canvas, you stop waiting. You realize you are the artist, and the brush has been in your hands all along. You don't need permission, you don't need someone else's approval, and you don't need certainty. All you need is the courage to dip the brush in the paint and make the first stroke. The truth is, not every stroke will look perfect. Not every color will blend the way you imagine. But that's the beauty of a canvas. You can keep layering, you can keep painting, you can keep creating. Life is not about getting it perfect on the first try, it's about committing to the process of creation. The people who paint masterpieces don't do it by accident. They keep showing up at the canvas day after day, stroke after stroke, adjusting, experimenting, and refusing to leave the space blank. That's what you have to do with your future. Keep painting, keep creating, keep shaping, because the alternative, leaving the canvas empty or letting fear smear it with darkness, will never give you the life you're capable of living. When you start to see your future as a canvas, fear loses its grip. Fear thrives in confinement, in the belief that you are trapped with no options. But a canvas is infinite in its possibilities. You can always add, you can always change, you can always reinvent. Fear hates the truth because it means it no longer has control. The moment you realize you are the painter, fear becomes just another color, and you decide how much of it you want to use. Maybe a touch, maybe none at all, but it no longer dominates the whole picture. And here's the powerful part. Your canvas is not just for you. The way you paint your future affects everyone around you. When you choose bold colors, when you create with courage, when you paint something extraordinary, it inspires others to pick up their own brushes. It shows them what's possible. But if you sit in the prison of your own fear, if you leave your canvas empty or filled with nothing but gray, you not only rob yourself, you rob the world of what could have been. Your future is not just about you. It's about the people who will see it, who will be impacted by it, who will be moved by the art you create. So the question is not whether the future will happen. The future is coming whether you worry about it or not. The question is, what are you going to paint? Will you let fear dictate your strokes, or will you choose to create something that excites you? Will you see walls where there are none, or will you see open space waiting to be filled? The canvas is in front of you right now, blank and waiting. The brush is in your hand. The only thing left is for you to decide what you're going to do with it. Courage means acting without certainty. That's a truth most people avoid because deep down they want guarantees. They want to know for sure that if they leap, the net will appear, that if they invest the time, the energy, the sacrifice, it will all pay off exactly the way they hope. But life doesn't work like that. The future is never guaranteed. Outcomes are never promised. And certainty is an illusion we cling to so we don't have to face the discomfort of risk. The people who achieve greatness, the people who break limits and live extraordinary lives are the ones who stop waiting for certainty and choose to act anyway. They choose courage over comfort, faith over fear, and movement over paralysis. When you demand certainty before taking action, you handcuff yourself. You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect assurance that nothing will go wrong. And while you wait, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass, time slips away, and you end up stuck in a cycle of hesitation. Most people think they're being wise by waiting until they know for sure, but in reality, they're being controlled by fear. The truth is, you will never know for sure. You can plan, you can prepare, you can analyze, but at some point you have to step into the unknown. That's what courage is, not the absence of fear, but the decision to move in spite of it. Think about every breakthrough moment in history, every innovation, every act of leadership, every story of transformation. None of them came with guarantees. The inventors didn't know for sure their ideas would work. The leaders didn't know for sure their movements would succeed. The entrepreneurs didn't know for sure their businesses would survive. They all had doubts, they all had risks, but they acted anyway. Courage is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Everyone dreams, everyone imagines, everyone talks about what they want. but only those who act without certainty ever get to see their dreams take form. The mind craves safety, it craves predictability, but growth lives in uncertainty. Every time you stretch, every time you take a step into the unknown, you grow stronger, more resourceful, more resilient. You discover parts of yourself you never would have found had you stayed in the comfort zone of certainty. The comfort zone feels safe, but it's also where dreams go to die. Nothing new, nothing extraordinary, nothing transformative ever happens there. The moment you step out, yes, it feels risky, but it also feels alive. That's where courage breathes life into your existence. Courage means saying yes even when your knees are shaking. It means picking up the phone to make the call you've been avoiding, applying for the opportunity you feel unqualified for, speaking the truth when your voice trembles, taking the leap when your mind screams for you to stay still. And here's the paradox. Once you act, even without certainty, clarity begins to come. Action breeds clarity. By moving forward, you learn, you adjust, you adapt. But if you never act, you stay stuck in endless guessing, endless doubting, endless circles of what if. You can't steer a parked car. You can't grow by standing still. Courage is the ignition. Most people overestimate the danger of acting and underestimate the danger of not acting. They imagine all the things that could go wrong if they take a risk, but they don't imagine all the things they lose if they don't. What's the cost of not starting that business? What's the cost of not pursuing that relationship? What's the cost of not writing that book, not chasing that dream, not speaking up, not stepping forward? The cost is regret. The cost is living a life where you look back and wonder what could have been if only you'd had the courage to act without certainty. That cost is far greater than any temporary failure. Courage also doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean ignoring preparation or diving headfirst without thought. It means doing the work, getting ready as best you can, and then stepping forward even when you still don't have every answer. It's about refusing to let the need for absolute assurance become your excuse for inaction. If you wait for all the lights to turn green before leaving your house, you'll never leave the driveway. If you wait for all the conditions to be perfect, you'll never begin. Courage says, I may not know everything, but I know enough to take the next step. And the more you practice courage, the stronger it gets. Like a muscle, it grows with use. The first time you act without certainty, it feels terrifying. The second time, it still feels scary, but you know you survived before. Over time, you realize that fear doesn't mean stop. It just means you're stretching. You realize that acting without certainty is not only possible, it's necessary. Eventually, you stop seeing uncertainty as something to run from and start seeing it as the arena where growth happens, where life gets exciting, where your true potential is revealed. Courage also inspires others. When people see you act without certainty, they realize they can too. You become proof that it's possible, proof that fear doesn't have to control the outcome. And in a world where most people are waiting for permission, waiting for guarantees, waiting for the perfect time, your courage becomes a beacon. You show by example that life rewards those who dare to step forward, not those who sit back and wait. The truth is, certainty is never what gives you security anyway. Even when you think you have certainty, life can change in an instant. Jobs disappear, markets shift, people leave, health changes. What truly gives you security is not certainty, but your capacity to handle whatever comes. That's why courage is so essential, because it builds that capacity. Every time you act without certainty, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. You expand your resilience, your creativity, your strength, and that's what makes you unstoppable, not some imagined guarantee. So when fear whispers that you can't act until you're sure, recognize it for what it is, an excuse to keep you small. Certainty is a myth, safety is an illusion, but courage is real. It's in your control. It's the decision you can make in this moment. The decision to step, to speak, to move, to do, even when the outcome isn't clear. That is where transformation happens. That is where life truly begins. Focus on action today, not fear of tomorrow. That's where real change happens, in the choices you make right now, not in the endless scenarios your mind invents about what might go wrong later. The future is shaped by the seeds you plant in the present, but too many people are so consumed by the thought of tomorrow's storm that they never plan anything at all. They hesitate, they delay, they second guess, and in doing so, they waste the only thing they actually have power over this moment. You can't act in the future, you can't decide in the past. The only place you can create movement, growth, and progress is in the now. Yet most people trade today's opportunities for tomorrow's worries. Fear of tomorrow is like a thief that robs you in broad daylight. It sneaks in disguised as caution, as responsibility, as prudence. And it convinces you that pausing, waiting, or preparing just a little longer is the smart move. But in reality, it's paralysis. You sit there thinking you're being wise by waiting for clarity about the future, when in truth, you're just losing the one thing you'll never get back: time. And time doesn't care about your fears. It keeps moving whether you act or not. That's why people look back at their lives and wonder where the years went. They weren't lost in action, they were lost in hesitation. The magic of action is that it cuts through fear. When you're caught in the loop of what might happen tomorrow, your mind spirals, your energy drains, and you feel weaker by the minute. But the second you shift from thinking to doing, everything changes. Action demands focus. It pulls your energy into the present, into something real, something tangible. And once you're moving, fear doesn't feel as heavy. It's still there whispering, but it no longer has the same power because you've given your body, your mind, and your spirit something else to engage with. You've shifted from passively imagining outcomes to actively creating them. People often think they need to wait for courage to act, but the truth is the opposite action creates courage. The moment you take even the smallest step, momentum builds. One call leads to another. One effort produces feedback. One decision opens a new door. Action compounds. It multiplies. It builds confidence. But fear of tomorrow compounds too. It grows bigger the longer you feed it with an action. What starts as a small worry becomes a story. The story becomes a belief. And the belief becomes a wall that stops you from moving at all. The only way to break that wall is with action today, not with overthinking about tomorrow. When you focus on today's actions, you simplify life. You don't have to solve all of next year's problems. You just have to solve the challenge in front of you. You don't need to guarantee the whole journey. You just need to take the next step. And here's the secret: when you take care of today, tomorrow often takes care of itself. The habits you build now, the work you put in now, the courage you show now, those are the things that shape the outcomes of the future. Fear doesn't shape the future, action does. Worry doesn't shape destiny, decisions do. Every major breakthrough begins with a small choice made in the present moment, often when fear of the future was screaming the loudest. Think about how many times you've stopped yourself from starting something because you were too busy thinking about what could go wrong later. You didn't apply for the opportunity because you imagined rejection. You didn't launch the idea because you pictured failure. You didn't speak up because you feared judgment. In every case, tomorrow's fear stole today's power. But the truth is, rejection, failure, and judgment aren't happening right now. They exist only in your imagination. And by surrendering to them, you gave away the one thing that was really your chance to act. The mind is powerful, but it can be a terrible master if you let it control you with imagined fears instead of guiding you toward real choices. Focusing on today doesn't mean you ignore the future. It means you stop letting the unknown paralyze you. You prepare, you plan, but then you act. You refuse to let the need for certainty become an excuse for hesitation. Every person who has ever built something meaningful learned how to live in this balance: eyes on the vision, hands in the work. They didn't sit around obsessing about the hundreds of ways it could go wrong. They poured their energy into the steps they could take now. And that's why they made progress while others stayed stuck. When you direct your attention to action today, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of what might be and become a creator of what will be. You realize that tomorrow's fear is only a shadow, and shadows vanish when you shine light on them. That light is action. Do the thing in front of you. Make the call, send the message, take the step, write the page, lift the weight, start the process. Don't let your mind drag you into battles with enemies that don't exist yet. Anchor yourself in what you can do right now. The difference between people who live with regret and people who live with fulfillment often comes down to this: one group spent more time fearing the future. The other spent more time acting in the present. Regret is the result of countless days given away to hesitation, while fulfillment is the result of countless days stacked with consistent action. Both groups had fears, but one chose to act in spite of them. That's the path you need to take. Don't wait for tomorrow to give you permission. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for certainty. Focus on what you can create, contribute, or move today. Your future will be a reflection of your present actions. If you fill your days with hesitation, doubt, and worry, that's what tomorrow will bring more of. If you fill your days with courage, effort, and movement, tomorrow will reward you with growth, opportunities, and breakthroughs. It's not magic, it's cause and effect. Life gives back what you put in, and what you put in is decided by what you do today, not by what you fear tomorrow. That's the choice in front of you every morning when you wake up. You can hand your energy over to fear, or you can invest it in action. One drains you, the other builds you. One leaves you powerless, The other makes you unstoppable. The future needs your faith, not your fear. Fear adds nothing of value to what lies ahead. It only contaminates it before it even arrives. When you project fear into tomorrow, you are essentially sending weakness forward instead of strength, doubt instead of belief, paralysis instead of momentum. Fear drains the energy that could have been used to build, to create, to grow, and replaces it with hesitation and anxiety. Faith, on the other hand, feeds the future. Faith injects possibility. It empowers action. It fuels resilience. And it gives you the mental and emotional strength to step forward when nothing feels certain. The future doesn't need your fear because fear creates nothing. It only sabotages. But faith builds. Faith inspires. Faith multiplies. Most people confuse faith with certainty. They think faith means knowing everything will work out exactly the way they hope. But real faith is different. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It's the willingness to move forward even when you don't know how it will unfold. It's the belief that no matter what comes, you will find a way, you will adapt, you will rise to the challenge. Fear says, what if it goes wrong? Faith says, even if it does, I'll figure it out. That's why faith is the fuel the future requires, because the future is never guaranteed, the path is never crystal clear, but the one thing that keeps you moving, that keeps you creating, is the faith that you will make it work. Fear is contagious, but so is faith. When you carry fear about the future, you spread it to the people around you. You speak it in your words, you show it in your posture, you act it out in your hesitation. Without realizing it, you plant seeds of worry in others, and those seeds grow into collective doubt. But when you carry faith, you also spread it. You become an example of possibility, of resilience, of strength. Others see you walking forward without guarantees, and they're reminded that they can too. You may not even realize how much your faith can impact the people around you, but it does. Your courage inspires courage. Your belief reminds others to believe. That's why the future doesn't just need your faith for you. It needs it for everyone connected to you. Fear makes you reactive, but faith makes you proactive. When you operate in fear, you wait for things to happen and then you try to respond. You play small, you hide, you retreat, you prepare for disaster instead of preparing for opportunity. But when you operate in faith, you move. You make the call, you take the chance, you start the project, you speak up, you step forward. And by doing that, you shape the very future you once worried about. Fear keeps you chained to the sidelines while life passes you by. Faith puts you on the field playing, creating, making a difference. And here's the truth. You don't get results from the sidelines. You only get them by stepping onto the field. Fear is heavy. It weighs down your mind, your body, your energy. You can feel it in your chest, in your breath, in your thoughts that spin endlessly in circles. Faith is light. It lifts you. It energizes you. It clears your vision so you can see what's possible. Fear says stop. Faith says go. Fear locks doors. Faith opens them. And when you choose faith over fear, you free yourself to explore paths you never would have found otherwise. The future is already uncertain. Why add the weight of fear to it when you could add the power of faith instead? You've already seen in your life how fear steals moments from you. How many conversations did you avoid because of fear? How many opportunities did you miss because of fear? How many times did you hold back because you were scared of what might happen? Now imagine if, in those moments, you had chosen faith instead. Imagine if you had stepped forward with the belief that something good could come of it, or at the very least that you would grow stronger through it. How much further would you be today? That's why the future needs your faith. Because every time you choose faith instead of fear, you multiply your chances of growth, progress, and fulfillment. The most powerful people you admire, the ones who have built lives of meaning, didn't get there by feeding fear. They weren't free of doubt, but they refused to let it dictate their choices. They fed faith instead. They believed in their vision. They believed in their capacity to adapt. They believed in something bigger than their circumstances. That belief is what carried them through uncertainty, setbacks, and failure. They understood that fear has no creative power, but faith does. Fear limits. Faith expands. Fear locks you down. Faith sets you free. Faith also changes the way you interpret challenges. When you live in fear, every obstacle feels like proof that you're doomed. Every setback feels permanent. But when you live in faith, obstacles become feedback, setbacks become lessons, and challenges become training grounds for growth. Faith reframes the story. Instead of, this is the end, it becomes, this is part of the process. That mindset doesn't just change how you feel in the moment. It changes the actions you take and the results you create. Faith doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. And strength is exactly what the future requires. Fear thrives in imagination, but so does faith. The same mental energy you use to picture disaster can be used to picture possibility. The same imagination you use to see everything collapsing can be used to see everything coming together. It's not about denying reality. It's about choosing which vision you will feed. One drains you, the other fuels you. One shuts down action, the other accelerates it. Both are imagined, but only one has the power to create something worth living. The choice between fear and faith is a choice about where to invest your imagination. At the end of the day, the future will come regardless. You can't stop it. You can't freeze it. You can't predict it perfectly. But you can decide what energy you send into it. You can decide whether to send fear, hesitation, and doubt, or to send faith, courage, and action. That decision shapes not only how you experience the future when it arrives, but also what that future becomes. Fear is passive. It lets circumstances decide for you. Faith is active. It empowers you to decide for yourself. And that's why the future doesn't need your fear. It needs your faith. Because faith is the only thing strong enough to create a tomorrow that excites you instead of one that terrifies you